Greetings and welcome to Monster Legends, and another special feeding episode. This time we're going to be feeding a guy that I picked up at the Primal Elements Maze. The only one I got there, actually. And this is Living Forest, who unfortunately comes hampered with 2 locked ruin slots. That's quite a shame. And he's got such a cute face, too. Alright, well, you know what? We're going to look at him, look at his skills, and see whether or not he can overcome this terrible obstacle. Alright, we'll find him a home. He didn't want to go very far, so, yeah. Okay, I thought we lost him there for a minute because he just kind of vanished. Alright, so anyway, let's take a look at him. Boom, where is he? He's hiding. Okay, wait a minute, is he hiding there? He's hiding there somewhere, isn't he? Yeah, there he is. And, of course, we'll find a nice name for him. Yeah, we'll find a nice name for him. Anyway, this is Living Forest. He is a legendary. He is nature. He also appears to be hardened. 20% chance of resisting bad effects. This is a good thing. Alright, I do see he's got a massive buff on him at the moment, so it's a little hard to judge his stats. I mean, if those were his stats, that would be awesome. But we can tell that he does seem to have more power than he does have speed, which is kind of interesting. Nature creatures have a tendency to be healers or poisoners, things related to nature. You know, some kind of support stuff sometimes as well. But, yeah, it's a little hard to judge what his final numbers are going to look like with that buff. But what we're going to do is we're going to run through his skills and see what he's got. Speaking of skills, let's just take a trip over here. Okay, Thalokkorza. Okay, low physical damage. Dong Bang. This is... Oh, well, that's new. I don't think I've ever seen that before. Okay, so his second skill is actually a 35% self-heal. That's very interesting. And you can do that every round. Okay, that's kind of interesting, especially for that early. Okay, and his special skill, which looked a little bit different, Taiga. Heals all allies by 50%, doubles all allies' maximum health, applies mirror to allies. Okay, so the double life in the mirror lasts for 2 rounds. Okay, so it's going to heal. It's going to double their lives. I'm guessing it's going to do it in that order. Interesting question. What order? It does make a difference. You know, if you're going to double their lives and then give them 50% more health, that could be better, especially when it wears off. Okay, and then it applies mirror to all allies, which is kind of good because it's going to reflect attacks back. So, very supporty. Very, very useful skill, especially later in a battle. You could make an argument for doing that early in a fight, though. The doubling of the maximum health in the mirror could make for a very compelling start of a battle. So, anyway, that's quite interesting. So far, he is kind of interesting. All right, let's take a look. Living Forest embodies the power of nature. Like nature itself, this monster can only be understood and appreciated by the wise. Its incredible speed allows it to be ready to empower its allies whenever they need. Okay, I'm a little confused by that text because he's more powerful than he is speedy. We don't know the actual values. He might be very speedy, but, you know, I think the power is bigger. Anyway, he's just kind of hopping all over the place there because we need to grow him, don't we? So why don't we start with that? First, we're going to get him to that first evolution at level 4. There we go. Okay. Kind of a cross between a tree and a puppet. That's kind of course, he also vanishes like everybody else when you... Could you please stay at the table while you're being fed? That is just so rude. Kids these days. All right, so let's start with the skills. First one starting at level 7. Senzifield. Okay. Deals moderate special damage to 1 enemy. That's interesting. 50% chance of applying damage reduction to 1 enemy. I have never seen them state 1 enemy before. Specifically. Usually it's deal moderate special damage and apply, 50% chance of applying a buff. a damage reduction in this case. I've never seen that. That's very interesting. More information is good. Sometimes they can get a little confusing with that. But anyway, that's not a bad first skill. Of course, we're going to have to take it, but we're not going to keep it, though. I don't like 50%. Damage reduction isn't my favorite thing as well, unless it's 100%, right? Okay, so otherwise I think it's 20%. 25. So anyway, let's continue to level 10 and his next skill. Chap Adara. Deals moderate nature damage to one enemy. Applies nature weakness to one enemy. That's interesting. So we're going to be getting nature weakness from this dude. Kind of interesting. Kind of interesting. Very supporty so far. Very supporty. It's interesting, though, that a support creature would have a significantly higher power than speed. Just interesting. Alright, let's continue to level 15 and his next skill. Pardo! Doubles an ally maximum health. Requires cooldown. Okay, that could be interesting. I'm going to throw that up front because, let's face it, there's no chance I'm going to keep that. If you have a group version of that, then we'll talk. Alright, let's continue to level 20 and his next skill. Sinhar Raja. Please stop. Heals allies for 30%, removes all negative status effects from all allies. Alright, so it's every other round he can do that. Alright, we're just going to throw that over here. Actually, this is not a 50%. We'll throw it here because it's a 50%, right? I don't know if I'm not keeping that last one. I'm just waiting for a replacement, you know? Okay, so we're going to level 25, which is going to be his next skill, and of course his final evolution. Sundarbans. Deals moderate nature damage to all enemies, applies poison, and removes positive status effects from all enemies. That's a really good skill that is usable. It only has a 2-round cooldown. It's a rather expensive one, though. Alright, I'm going to put that in the first spot, just because I could live with that being in the first spot. I could live with that being there. I mean, it's unusual that, at level 25 I'd be going with the last skill, but it has happened before. I could live with that being there. Anyway, there he is. Yes, very, very tree and puppet-like. And he vanished again. Could you come back and finish your dinner, please? Thank you. Okay, let's go to level 30. Next skill. Tungas. Deals moderate special damage to all enemies. Applies damage reduction to all targets. Okay, that's pretty good. It's only a 25 stamina. Alright, so you know what? I'm going to put this up here. Healing. I can't believe that's the only one he's going to get. And I wouldn't keep a self-only heal. I wouldn't keep that. Alright, that's kind of interesting. That's, yeah, 2 group attacks there. We'll have to see. This is kind of early for that, too. I mean, if he gets upgrades for those, we might see the reason for the increased power. Alright, let's continue to level 35. Kinabalu. Okay, applies mirror to one ally, removes all negative status effects from one ally, heals one ally by 30%. That's very interesting. Of course, I would love a group version of that. Yeah, like that. The only difference is, for this one, is the mirror. And this one I can use more often, the one I have right now. I can use that more often. It's the only difference, the mirror. But the mirror is really useful, especially if it's going to be on there for 2 rounds, you know? Let's do this for now. I mean, we're only at level 35, so we got to have some more stuff coming. He's just complicating me here, right? Alright, let's continue to level 40 and see what else he's got. Daintree. Double an ally's maximum life, applies taunt. That can be very useful. This guy's getting way too much good stuff. Okay, doubling life and putting taunt on means it's really tempting, but you know the problem with that is you have to have somebody that you're going to do that to. And you may not. I'm going to have to skip that for now. All right, let's see what else he's got. I don't know about those last two skills, what I got already. Mindo Nambillo. Deals moderate special damage to all enemies. Applied nature weakness to all targets. Applies water weakness to all targets. Applies earth weakness to all targets. Wow, that's a lot of stamina. It's moderate damage, but it's on the low end. But here's the thing, it's still special damage. Okay, this one, applying poison. It's a good damage and it's applying poison. I don't want to lose that one. It's only a 2-round cooldown. You could keep things perpetually poisoned with that. Alright, what about this one? This one's more damage, and it adds a damage reduction. If I use the new one and then come back with this one, it's going to do a lot more damage. See, this one here, the tongue gas, if you use this one over here, you don't get any benefit. And I'm not really terrific with damage reduction, so it's probably better to use the new one and then come back with the first one to do a lot more damage. You can also really help the group by doing that too. It's got 3 weaknesses. It's just a lot of stamina. For those 2, he's gonna have stamina issues. I'm taking tongue gas out. Alright, we're gonna have to keep going here because I still don't know where I'm going with this guy. Alright, so we got 3 more shots at skills, and here's the first one at level 50. Okay, dead tree. Okay. That one is really subjective to having somebody you can actually do that to. You know, I don't... This one is just all-around good. This one could end up being very good. So, I'm going to keep this one for now. Alright, we got 2 more shots. So let's see what we got. Okay, at level 55. Okay, no. And finally, at level 60. I don't know. It's a standard group heal. It's a standard group heal. There's nothing special about it. Removing negative status effects can be very good. The 2 is not bad. Now this one here is the same thing to one individual, only it adds mirror. We've already seen this guy's got a stamina issue. So, do I want him to have 3 group attacks? This one's going to put the weaknesses down. Tongue gas is not going to benefit from this one. It's not going to benefit from this one. The first one absolutely is, besides the first one applies poison, so that's not going anywhere. Do I want mirror on one individual? I'd rather have another group attack. It does mean that I'm going to have to probably lean on damage because of my choices. But there were options here. I mean, if you kept the self-heal and you took the taunt, he could have played the taunter himself. He's a little hard to really get a hand on, is he? Alright, let's look back here now. Alright, now obviously these numbers look great, but he's also getting a really large buff. You can tell that because the stamina should be 140. And you're seeing 154, which means he's getting a buff. Probably a large one. See, here's the problem now. I got this guy, he's got 2 locked ruin slots, right? So if I had all 3 open, it would be really hard not to put 2 damages on him. And I gotta say, I'm seriously considering maybe stamina for the last one, because he's gonna run out very quickly unless he has somebody else to help him. Although, I don't know. It's hard to say. Let's just stop back and look at the skills. Okay. Sundarbans. Deals moderate nature damage to all enemies, applies poison, and removes positive status effects from enemies, and it's on a 2-round cooldown. Has a big stamina cost. 44 is a little bit on the large side, especially for something with only a 2-round cooldown. But this is pretty good. It's a lot better if you use the next one first, though. Okay. This is Mindo Nambillo. Deals moderate special damage to all enemies, applies nature weakness to all enemies, applies water weakness to all enemies, applies earth weakness to all enemies. And of course, each one of those is 3 turns. He's got a 2-round cooldown, which means he could keep those on all the time, assuming they weren't resisted, which they could be resisted. So that makes the first attack which also has a 2-round cooldown, much more effective. It could also really help your group because it's got 3 weaknesses on there. So if you're tagging with someone who's got water, you're tagging with someone who's got earth, they could do a lot of damage because they're going to do double damage because they're going to be critical attacks. So that is really nice. All right, here's where we get a little bit fuzzy. This is Sinhar Raja. Ugh. And this is basically your typical group heal. It's only 30%. It does remove negative status effects. It's got a 1-round cooldown. This is the tricky area here. I mean, these last 2, you could do a lot of things with these. I don't know if I've made the right decision here, but I mean, a group heal is usually a good thing, especially if you can take off negative status effects. If your guys have got dots or something like that, remember, he's hardened. You do a stun, he very well might resist it, and then he could take the stun off of the rest of the group. That's pretty darn useful. And then we have the Wisp one, which is another one I chose. This one, you can remember, I dwelled on this one a lot. I don't know if this is what I want to do, but this is Tongue Gas, and this deals moderate special damage to all enemies, applies damage reduction to all targets. I'm not a fan of damage reduction. That one is only going to be 25%. It's good damage, though, and it's special damage, which means it's not going to be weakened or anything like that. It doesn't benefit from the weaknesses of the second attack, though, which is the reason I didn't immediately jump on it. Now, if it had been another nature attack, absolutely. Because it's already middle of the road, moderate damage, that would have been doing deep, heavy damage. I mean, it's not bad, it's just, I'm not sure whether or not that's the right thing to do or not. This is a guy, I'm looking at him, I don't know. It's hard not to put damage on him. You know, it's hard not to because he's got a lot of damage. And also his power is higher than his speed, even though we're not looking at the real numbers. So he can be very damaging, he can heal, and he can put damage reduction on, he can poison, and he can apply weakness. It's hard not to say he's kind of damagey, isn't he? I mean, he's like a damage support person. It reminds me a little bit of Incognita in that, whereas she has some really big attacks, but then she also has support stuff too. So I don't know if I'm going to keep this spec with him. And yeah, long term, of course, the locked ruin slots are hard to deal with in terms of that. But I think definitely testing is in order. Very much in order. So anyway, thank you very much for your attention. I really appreciate it. And play games because games are fun. See ya.